but that is just the reality in it, and I think as we do that, people see that we're really trying to engage with life, and we're engaging particularly with a selfishness that is destroying our culture as sin attacks from underneath.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why is the family breaking up? It's because people can't forgive each other.
Mm-hmm.
They can't live with each other as they set their own agendas, and if you understand sin and the biblical view of sin, it makes you much easier to live with because you're much more aware it's your own fault.
Mm-hmm. Text here is coming in sort of 4 parts, and they're not all together, so I'll try and make some sense of it, because I think, you know, this again, it's just a heart cry from Chris in Welshpool. Hi Doug and Rico, I've got an elderly friend who is in a nursing home, and sadly she has no confidence in God and Jesus. I've tried to talk to her about Christianity, but to no avail. A minister did come and see her, but has not seen her for a long time. I find this very upsetting because this lady has no family. I would like the church to get together and help this lady, but they don't seem to want to do it. If it was a member of their own family, they would be there all the time. This lady needs people to be caring and kind towards her. I can't text anyone anymore because this upsets me very badly. Chris from Welshpool. Where do you go with that? Because it may not be in exactly the same situation, but we may all know people that we are not near enough to deal with. How do you begin to deal with things like this? I mean, there are networks, aren't there, that maybe we should be more interreactive one with another to know where we can go and know where we can find such help.
Yeah, and John Stott was the minister at All Souls for many years. Some of you may have heard of him. He gets up at 10 to 5 in the morning and sleeps for half an hour each afternoon, and I myself have adopted one of those 2 habits. But he said, you know, I mean, just in terms of that dear lady, the Christian faith doesn't begin with people but with a person. So, you know, what we really do is we need to find a couple of people who see Ephesians 2 verse 10, the good work in their life is that God has called them to do, is part of that good work is engaging at a deep level in terms of serving that lady. And you know, I think that's it. I think you know, you can run courses like this, but the reason people come on Christianity Explored is friends bring friends.
That's right.
So the first issue we've got there is well, Chris, you'll know this, is somebody being prepared near there, finding a Christian who's prepared to reach out, engage, and serve. And you know, it's one individual reaching out for another, and I think that must be the heart of the prayer point there. That is a very sad story, and again, what it does is it speaks to the individualism of our culture, doesn't it? Where people are left alone, and where people just don't have that sense of serving others. And so, you know, Christianity Explored, again and again, we're emphasizing the issue of service. We want to turn out people who are Christian servants.
You touched upon it there. You know, if you wanted to put on a Christianity Explored course, you could put an advert in the newspaper, you could stick a poster outside your church and track the area and do all that sort of thing. But in the end, do you feel that the majority come through because a friend brings a friend or brings an acquaintance, and that is very much where most of the people come from?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you know, it's so obvious, but it's so true. People come because friends bring friends. And there's an increasing lack of trust in our culture. If you look at what's happening in Parliament at the moment, the legacy of that is that people are wondering, can I trust MPs?
Yes.
You know, my heart goes out to many MPs and to other MPs. They must think, well, how can I behave like that? I mean, but the legacy is that in this postmodern generation, to use that word, people are saying, can I trust authority figures? You know, the one thing they will trust is a friend. You know, they don't really trust the institutions. They don't really trust the schoolmaster or the doctor, or they don't know who they can trust. But if someone's made time, creates a friendship, and love is a 4-letter word, T-I-M-E. So it is the time going in, which is our most valuable commodity often. It's the time going in that creates the friendship. Pray that people will know that you'll love people, because they'll tell if you can't, if you're just trying to use them, just trying to get a message across. I mean, you know, we want to share our lives, as Paul said, and as we do that, people come along because we pray and we invite, and gradually God creates spiritual hunger in them.
So it becomes an extension of what we're doing. In other words, it's, I suppose the point I'm getting at is it's not an excuse because I am not doing anything, I'll let Christianity Explore doing it. What it's doing, it's bringing people into an atmosphere, as you say. It's not, somebody's just not going to sit there and stand there and preach at them, and it's in an atmosphere where there's sharing going on. But it's not a substitute for my building friendships and taking that time with people. It's an extension to that, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, all it is just to look at Jesus in Mark's gospel, but our job is to bring people to hear that. And you know, I did a mission, and I said to the mission committee, this was down, I went to Lee University, but I said to the mission committee, I said, well, you know, what are we doing? They said, we've got some great posters. And I said, well, that's super, you've got posters. I said, are you inviting people? They said, we think the posters will do it. And I said, look, I assure you they won't. The posters will raise awareness. So you can have notices and people are aware of it, but people come because a friend brings them. I often say, look, just come for the first 2 weeks. See how you find it. But they come because a friend sticks their neck out. And you know, there's rejection in this. You know, Jesus said, as he talked to the disciples, Matthew 10:17, he said, I send you out as sheep among wolves. Now, I've not seen what a wolf can do to a sheep, but I've seen what a dog can do. And it's not, and he says, you might get a bit torn up by this. But as we do that, there'll be some who wonderfully come along. There'll be others who change their attitude to us, and we just must be prepared for that. And when that happens, here's the issue. You must remember that your security is not in their acceptance or rejection of you. What makes you valuable is Christ died for you, is that identity of grace in your heart. If it is, whether they accept or reject you, is neither here nor there. What you're going to do is just keep loving and befriending.
Moving away from the local church situation for a minute, you have a director of prison ministries, I notice.
Steve James.
Is the course something that's used much in prisons, and is there a different reaction to people? I mean, are they prepared to understand that they are more of a sinner because they're in prison or not? How does that work out?
Well, the first thing to say is we've just got a great guy leading the prison's work, and he's a guy called Steve James. He was in prison himself. He's come out and is married, has 2 children, has been thoroughly rehabilitated, is a qualified builder, but has done some theological training as well, and is now leading that prison's work. He's 6'5", quite a good guy to send into the prisons. But he is great at having, I guess, been inside himself, at understanding the educational level of those people, the prisoners he's going to, and the simplicity of Identity Mission Call, again, is what he says is wonderful. It's so simple that prisoners who perhaps have not really learnt to read terribly well and things like that can engage very quickly.
Yes.
Others are, I mean, as one can, you know, would imagine, are tremendously bright, and but again, I engaging with Identity Mission Call gives that clarity. So we have at least 25 prisons running Christianity Explored who are doing that. There are 157 prisons in Britain, so there are a lot to go. But that's been the situation. And I think the level of emphasis on human rebellion, on what we've done wrong, I think is refreshing to prisoners, because often they're told, you know, they're not rebels, they're victims. And they are victims to some degree, but they're also rebels. And I think a course that says, no, look, you've got to own the choices you made and what you did. And above all, you've got to see you offended God, and that prison is nothing in comparison to standing before him at judgment and being separated from him for eternity in eternal torment. You know, once you get those things across, it is life-changing, because they suddenly go, I can't believe God loved me so much to send his son to die. So I think you know, it's just helping prisoners engage with the basic truths of the gospel.
And I mean, you talked about reality earlier on in a different context, but surely also they need to see the reality, i.e. these people aren't just coming in and using them as sermon fodder, but there's a reality that really does want to reach out and stand by that person and help that person. That sort of thing must also be very important with those that work in the prison ministry.
Well, I think Steve has tremendous credibility, because he's been in prison and he's come back, and there's a natural compassion that comes out.